Hello trainers, and welcome to another episode of Pokéology, a show where each week I talk to you about the biology of Pokemon based on the research that I have found. My name is Professor SACCHARUM, and this week we will be talking about the Fang Scorpion Pokemon, Gliscor. As per usual, we will be asking the following questions when we look into each Pokemon. What does it look like? What does it eat? How does it survive? What makes it special? Where do I find it, and how do I train it? Voila! Gliscor are a large purplish Pokemon who are capable of flight. I put quotations around flight because they don't truly fly. They glide using these bad boys. See how Gliscor's wings aren't attached to its arms? No? Well, here's another picture. Take a close look as to how the wings are not attached to the arms, but instead protrude from the upper abdomen. They appear to grow from the spinal column and are supported by an exoskeleton chest piece. We can also take another look at this picture and see that Gliscor's legs are too short for them to actually use, so Gliscor use their tails as a standing tool and a mode of transportation on the ground. These tails also have pincers on them similar to their feet. I have a theory that Gliscor's tail are actually another foot that has developed over time due to the process of evolution. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Evolution? You mean like Gligar to Gliscor? No. I'm talking about natural selection. If you want more information, take a look at this video, and tell them that I sent you. Jumping back to the picture, we can also see that Gliscor have very large ears. This could be to help them have better hearing so that they can find their prey, since they are mostly nocturnal. Speaking of nocturnal, let's take a look at Gliscor's eyes. They are bright and piercing yellow. I haven't seen it myself, but I do theorize that Gliscor's eyes brighten up to help them see in the darkness. Gliscor are omnivores, however they do tend to lean towards a more carnivorous lifestyle. They have no specific targets for prey, but will eat anything with a thin hide and that is small enough to take out and bring back to their nests. Gliscor also appear to feed upon the eggs of other Pokemon, and are known to raid the nests of other creatures. You can also expect Gliscor to engage in aerial ambush hunting, or otherwise gather food alone a short distance away from the other members of their swarm. Well, since Gliscor is at the top of its food chain, it only really has to worry about two things: its climate and the abundance of food. Gliscor and its evolutionary line usually live in areas with a lot of updrafting winds, like gorges and tall mountains. Although their bodies are capable of withstanding the cold, if Gliscor is hit with a sudden drop in temperature, they are left extremely vulnerable. The good thing about living in an area with a lot of updrafts is that if Gliscor start to run out of food, they can easily travel someplace else and make a new nest. Here's where things get a little interesting. Now one would think that Gliscor maintain altitude by flapping its wings, and although this may be true, it's just not in the conventional sense. Since most other flying types are able to articulate their wings properly, it makes it easier for them to maintain their altitude. However, Gliscor cannot flap its wings like a Pidgeot or a Fearow can. Instead, they are able to rock side to side while articulating their wings front and back. I know it doesn't sound different, but here's a visual aid. See, bird Pokemon flap like this, but since Gliscor's wings are not two separate parts, it has to move them like this. The best way to describe it would be to compare it to a kite. But let's check to see what our Pokédex has to say about Gliscor. It observes prey while hanging inverted from branches. When the chance presents itself, it swoops. If it succeeds in catching even a faint breeze properly, it can circle the globe without flapping once. Its flight is soundless. It uses its lengthy tail to carry off its prey. Then its elongated fangs do the rest. It dances silently through the sky. When it approaches prey, it can land a critical hit in an instant. The Pokédex also tells us that Gliscor is 6'7" and weighs 97.3 pounds. Hold on, this is weird because Gligar is 3'7" and weighs about 143 pounds. How is that possible? Well, let's take a look at both of their builds. Okay, if I had to guess, this would be because of a couple things. Look at Gligar's belly. It's round and chubby compared to Gliscor's, which is long and thin. Also, let's take a look at another picture of Gligar. See how the body is fully connected to the wings? The skin is covering the vertebra, which causes more weight. Now look at Gliscor's wings. Completely exposed. That explains the difference in weight, my fellow trainers. If you want to have a Gliscor of your own, you're going to have to do one of two things. You can find Gliscor in the wild, or you can catch a Gligar and level it up at night while it's holding the Razor Fang, where it will evolve into Gliscor. You can find Gliscor in Univa's routes 11, 15, and 23, but only in the rustling grass. But if you're elsewhere and you want your Gliscor, you're going to have to catch Gligar. Now you can find Gligar in one of the following places: Johto's Route 45, Hoenn Safari Zone, Sinnoh's routes 206, 207, 214, 215, 227, and Stark Mountain, Univa's 11, 15, and 23, and finally Kalos's Route 19, but only in hordes. Now it's time for me to teach you the best way to train up your Gliscor. The first thing you're going to want to know about Gliscor is that it is a ground and flying type Pokemon, meaning that it is weak to water but extremely frail to ice type moves. The next thing you're going to want to know is that Gliscor has access to one of 3 abilities: Hypercutter, Sandveil, and Poison Heal. Hypercutter means that Gliscor's attack stat cannot be dropped. Sandveil raises Gliscor's evasion by 25% in a sandstorm. Poison Heal heals 1/8 of Gliscor's HP when poisoned. For the first set, you're going to want to have a Gliscor with an impish nature and the ability Poison Heal. Give it the Toxic Orb to hold and spread the EVs, 244 HP, 40 defense, and 224 speed. Then give it the moves Substitute, Toxic, Earthquake, and either Protect, Roost, or Taunt. The next set is actually pretty much the same except for the EV spread and for the attacks that it needs to know. So make sure your Gliscor has an impish nature and the ability Poison Heal while it's holding the Toxic Orb. Then spread the EVs, 244 HP, 248 defense, and 16 speed. In the first slot, you're going to want to have Earthquake for your main offensive attack. In the second slot, you're going to want to either have Taunt or Toxic. In the third slot, you'll want either Ice Fang or U-Turn, and in the final slot, you'll either want Roost or Protect. In this final set, you're going to want to make sure that Gliscor has an Adamant nature and has the Hypercutter ability. Give it the Flying Gem to hold and spread the EVs, 252 attack, 4 defense, and 252 speed. Give it the moves Acrobatics, Earthquake, Swords Dance, and either Substitute or Agility, and you're good to go. And there you have it, Gliscor, the Fang Scorp Pokemon, and an awesome Toxic Staller. Well, that's my show for this week. Remember, if you like this video, to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel for next week's Pokemon. Also, don't forget to leave your friend code and a suggestion for a Pokemon you'd like to see on the show in the comment section below. And by doing that, you have the chance to enter yourself in the SACCHARUM raffle, where you have the chance to win the Pokemon discussed in this week's episode. Last week I raffled off Gastly, and here are the names of our winners. Congratulations! You can email me so that we can schedule a time for a trade. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Professor SACCHARUM, and please join me next week for another god-crushing episode of Pokéology. See you next time!